Hi Stampers, this is Barbara Reed, the Wexford Stamper, and today I'm going to do a video tutorial on how to make this tall gift bag and this Mother's Day card. The set I used to make these two projects is the Timeless Tulips bundle, and if you have your catalog, this one is right on page 43. It includes the Timeless Tulips stamp set, which has these cool distinctive stamps, and you'll see that when I stamp out the tulips, you can see how they look very, very textured and three-dimensional on your paper. And all of them are photopolymer stamps, and then the Tulip Builder Punch. Those two together, if you buy them together, you can save 10%. It's a great deal. Let me show you them, what they look like. Here is the Tulip Builder Punch, and you can see how that works to cut out our images that we're stamping. Sorry. And here is the Timeless Tulips stamp set. So we're going to be using lots of these images here, and we're going to be using the Happy Easter and the Happy Mother's Day sentiments, but there's other ones here, beautiful fonts as always. All right, so to get started, I think we'll go ahead and work on the tall bag first. I used Flirty Flamingo cardstock here and Flirty Flamingo ink, as well as Granny Apple Green ink and Granny Apple Green ribbon, and then I used the Blushing Bride, a more subtle pink, for my sentiment banner. All right, well, let's get started. We're going to start with a piece of Flirty Flamingo that is 8 inches by 11 inches. I'm going to bring in my Simply Scored board, and I'm going to put it up here, and I'm going to put it in landscape mode. So the long side is on the top. All right, on the 11-inch side, we're going to score at 3 1/4, 5 1/4, 8 1/2, 10 1/2. Okay, then we're going to turn it on the short side, and we're going to score at 2 inches. Now, before we finish, we're going to go up here and we're going to do some partial scoring. Now, the reason we do the partial scoring is to make the pleats in the bag. If you notice here, I've got really nice, clean pleats on both sides of the bag, and there's a real easy way to do that, and that involves some partial scoring. So get yourself a ruler or some kind of a straight edge, and I want you to put it up here against the side of your scoring board, right at the 5-inch line. Okay, now we're going to go back up to the top of our scoring board, and at 4 1/4, I'm going to score down to the 5-inch line. Okay, and what you'll notice is I'm really just kind of dividing that side panel in half. Okay, going to do the same thing over here at 9 1/2. Down to the 5-inch line. Okay, now we're done with our scoring board, but I want you to keep the straight edge for just a minute and your scoring tool. What you're going to do is you're going to take the point, the end point of where you scored here, and you're going to draw a line using your straight edge or ruler from that point to the corner. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing from the point here to that corner. So I'm going to be kind of drawing a little triangle. All right. See right there. Let me bring it up closer to the, you see my triangle there? Well, hard to see. All right, so let's go ahead and do it again here. You're going to put your scoring tool right on the end of that line that you scored, and then come right down to the corner. And I'm going to do that again. Put it here, bring your scoring, your straight edge up, and then go right down to the corner. And that's going to kind of tell your paper where to go as you're pulling up and pinching the sides of the box together. All right, now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use my bone folder and we're going to go ahead and crease all our score lines. It's important to always do good creasing on your score lines, because then your box will come together very nicely. Don't worry too much about those partial score lines we did. They will take care of themselves as the box comes together. All right. You can, if you want, start teaching them that they're going to go in like that. All right. Okay, now let's get our scissors and we're going to go ahead and do some cutting. Okay, we're going to cut right here along this tiny little rectangle, just up to the first horizontal score line, and cut that off. You notice I wedged it a little bit, just so as we put our box together, it'll fit together nicely. Okay, then all these flaps, we're going to cut from the bottom of our paper on the vertical score line right up to the first horizontal score line. Now these are the panels that are going to be on the bottom of your box, and these are the flaps. So what I like to do with the flaps that are going to go inside, I like to take a little bit off the sides or wedge them a little bit, so when all these panels and flaps come together inside the box, that there won't be too much crowding, and that can cause your box to look a little wrinkled. All right, so there's all the cutting we need to do. Now we're ready to go ahead and put our box together. Okay, for the box, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my sticky strip. This is a great adhesive that will really hold 3D items together. You don't want to use snail because it will not hold it. If you want to put something in the box, it will have a real tough time holding it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my take your pick tool, and I'm going to remove the backing on that. Now I'm going to turn it over on the back and fold this over. Now the sticky side's here, and then I'm just going to fold over the other side, and they will come right together and make a nice even line along there. Okay, now we're going to do the bottom, and I'm going to use glue for the bottom. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on both of these flaps, just a little, just so they don't spring up on inside. And then I'm going to just put a little glue on the last flap down. Okay, so here we go. We're going to put the two in, then we're going to put the first flap down and the second flap down. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to take my scissors, or you can take your bone folder and just push down on the inside there to make sure everything is sticking together. And now watch, if you gently push in your sides on those, you'll notice that your box is coming together very nicely and everything is folding at the right spot. Okay, so there's our bag. Now we're going to go ahead and make the panel that goes on the front of the bag. All right, you're going to need another piece of Whisper White. Okay, and let me measure this. This panel is cut at 3 by 5 1/4. Now don't worry about the dimensions. I'm going to have all this on my blog after I finish this stream, and you can check on my blog there. And my blog is the wexfordstamper.blogspot.com. All right, here's our panel. We're ready to go. The first thing we're going to need to do, here I'll bring in my sample here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our stems and leaves right on here. Okay, now to do that, I'm going to use the stem image right here, and I'm going to use the leaf image right here. Okay, these are both going to be in Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to move this away so we don't get more ink on that. And we're going to first do the stems. Okay, I'm going to put one stem here. And since I want it to kind of lean the other way on the other side, I'm going to turn it upside down. No, I didn't do that on the other one, so I better keep it the same. Okay, but you could do that so it will go the other way. So there's my two stems, very easy to do. And now I'm going to go ahead and put a leaf on each side. First, I'm going to use it this way and put that one there. Then I'm going to turn it. That's what's nice about these leaves. You can turn them either way depending on which way you want them to face. So there are my two leaves, two stems. Very easy to do. Let's put that over there. Now we're going to do some stamping for our tulips. I'm going to bring in a piece of paper, just a strip of Whisper White paper. I'm going to bring in my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to stamp two full size and if you see that, this has that special distinctive stamp, some new technology that really makes it look like it has texture, and then it has different size, not different size, but different levels of color depending on where you are. And you just really just took one stamp one time on the pad and you were able to do that. Isn't that pretty? All right, now let's go ahead and using this stamp, I'm going to stamp another petal for each leaf. Now, when I first got this stamp set, I actually thought like this was the leaf that you used on the stem, but I then saw some demonstrators cards, and then I noticed that it really wasn't, that they were really the another where's my sample here, another petal that you can put on the front and make it look a little more 3D. And I thought, oh, I like that. So that's what I decided to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring my punch in. Okay. Now, let me give you some tips on this. The reason I did it on a strip like this and I started on the right is so that I can punch them out without a whole lot of cutting and moving around of the paper. So you want to make sure when you're punching, when you're stamping the tulips, you leave a little space between, because when you punch, you have that little other petal there that you want to make room for. If you put them too close, you're going to go ahead and punch a little bit of the next one out. So there, I'm going to punch that. Okay, there's my first. Then I can just move right down to the second. If you cut it on a bigger, punch it on a bigger sheet of paper, it's a little more challenging and you might have to cut your paper as you go. But this, with a strip, it makes it a lot easier and you can get through with little or no cutting. Okay, there is my first petal. You might need to take this off because it can get stuck inside your punch. Okay, we're going to bring it back right on here. And there's our final punch. So there's our 4 images. And if you start your stamping from the right side of your strip, because you're going to cut from the right, then you won't cut out images that you don't want to cut out. So that's one little technique that I've kind of learned after practicing. All right, so let's go back to our panel now, and I'm going to bring in some of the dimensionals. And I'm going to go ahead, first putting a dimensional on the back of the leaf, the extra petal, sorry. I'm going to take that off, and that's going to go right on the front. And you just kind of measure along the bottom and the side, and when you get it to the right spot, you just adhere it. Gives it more dimension. I think it looks beautiful. I love that second portion there. Makes it look much more realistic, much more 3-dimensional. So there's our both tulips. Now I'm going to grab a couple more dimensionals and we're going to put those right on the front of our panel. Okay. Put this one here. So we're double dimensionals, girls. Get those pumped up. And then we're going to go ahead and put the second over here. Now I think I need to remind myself. There. Okay, so there's our two tulips. All right, so that's the major portion of the project. But before we go ahead and adhere everything to the front of our bag, we're going to take our 3/4 inch strip of Blushing Bride, and I'm going to take the stamp that says Happy Easter, Happy Spring, Happy, Happy Everything. So that could make the bag very multi-purpose for you. So I'm going to go ahead using the Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp right on the strip. Okay, put that away. Okay, now let's go ahead, bring in my bag. And the first thing we want to do is go ahead and adhere the panel to the front of the bag. And I'm going to do that using my Tombow glue. That would be messy if we used ink, wouldn't it, ladies? Okay, now you're going to have a little extra space up top, and that's okay because we're going to be wrapping a ribbon around there. Okay, so don't worry about the panel going all the way to the top. It really doesn't have to do that. Oh, now I have it a little, that's what I like about the Tombow. I can put that on and go, oh my goodness, that is crooked, and I have a little bit of time to fix it. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and take my little label, and I'm going to cut off a little of it here, and then I'm going to make a little flag. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to cut up the center of the end of the strip about a 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to cut from each of the corners to that spot to make a little flag. Okay, so now I'm going to turn that over, and I'm going to put 2 dimensionals on the back. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and take off that dimensional backings, and then they're going to go right along the bottom here. And there is my box. I'm just pushing down from the inside a little bit to get the panel to stay down a little better. And there we go. There it is. Last thing we need to do for our box, our tall box, is use a little bit of this gorgeous textured weave ribbon in Granny Apple Green. Gonna cut a piece of that. Okay, then we're gonna wrap it around the top. Okay, so we wanna make sure we're squeezing to see how nice our pleats are on the side when we use that technique. So it makes it look very, very professional. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tie it around the top. Remember, we left a little space on the top so that we would have room to put a ribbon without covering up our tulips. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this on first. This is probably the hardest part. You want to make sure you're tightening it to close the box at the top and keep it on the top there. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and tie a ribbon. Let's see if we can do it. Remember, you can always fix it once you get it through. Just your goal is to get it through and tied. Okay, got it tied. It's down. Now I can play around with it a little bit till I get it the way I like. Never worry about how it's going to look right away. Just get it tied so that it's holding everything in its place. Okay, so I'm kind of liking that. I think that came out pretty nice. And to finish it off and give it a little more of a professional look, I like to cut my ends on a diagonal. So let's pull this a little bit more so it's a little straighter. There we go. And now I'm going to come in with my scissors, and I'm just going to cut the end of the ribbon on an angle. Just gives it a little more something something. Doing it over here as well. Okay, so there we go. Just like the first one. Okay, beautiful. All right, well, let's keep moving. We're going to go ahead and work on our Mother's Day card. Lots of similar things happening with the Mother's Day card as did with the other. So let's go ahead and get started. I used a piece of crumb cake for my card base. Okay, and then I used a piece of pear pizzazz for my card front. But before I adhered that, I used this really cool stamp that I had from another stamp set. Let me show you. I think I have it here. Yes. It's called Parisian Beauty, and I used the script up there because I'm the kind of gal that just doesn't like the plain cardstock on the front. I really like to kind of dress it up if I can. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the pear pizzazz. And I didn't really take a lot of time to figure out where it would be, because if you look here, much of it is going to be covered. So what I did is I just inked it up and I kind of went across like this. Just stamping without really worrying too much if I'm covering all the spots that I need to be covering, just to give it a little bit of interest in the back. Okay, so that's what I did. Very simple, just give it something rather than just being blank. All right, so that's what I did there. And I'm gonna put that aside for now. And then on my flower, I'm going to go ahead and use, this is the largest label of the nested labels that come with the Bird Ballad set. I just love this, and I've used these a lot. I love that they're stitched and they just look so pretty that way. So that's what we're going to work on next. And we're going to do something very similar to what we did with the other project. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stamp 2 stems. Again, this time we're going to use the pear pizzazz instead. And we're going to stamp them very similarly. I'm going to stamp here. And here. And there we go. There's our stems. We're going to bring in that same beautiful leaf image. We're going to stamp that on both sides. One here. Whoops. And one here. And that distinctive stamp really, really gives those leaves very pretty look. All right, so that's all I need my pear pizzazz for. All finished. Okay, now we're going to do the same process again to make our tulips as we did with the bag. But these tulips are going to be in the Mango Melody. Sorry, ladies. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my Mango Melody. And I'm going to bring in another strip. Okay, I'm going to clean off my stamps. And then I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. We're going to use a thin strip, and we're going to first stamp the tulips. And remember, we want to have them a little bit apart. Okay, then we're going to come in and we're going to stamp our extra petal twice. This eliminates a lot of the cutting and a lot of the using a sticky note to make sure it's in the right spot. All right, let's see how I did. Okay, we're going to put that away. We're going to go ahead and stamp these images out. There goes. Remember, you want to turn it over so you can very easily see the image, and you want to try to line it up so you have a bit of a white boundary around the whole thing. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect though. All right, now we're going to go ahead and cut out our little extra petal. One. Extra petal. Two. All right, there we go. That's easy as that. All right, now let's bring in our label, and we're going to go ahead and construct our flowers and put them right on there. Okay, we're going to need those dimensionals again. I'm going to pull off one dimensional here for each of our extra petals. I'm going to take the back off, and then I'm just going to, oops, upside down. We're going to line it up against the side of the flower and then stick it down. Give it that little 3D look. I love it. Okay, and I love this Mango Melody is one of my favorite colors now, at least this week. You know how that goes. All right, there we go. There's our tulips. Now I'm going to take two more dimensionals, and these tulips are going to go right onto my label, right above the little stem. Okay. Look how beautiful those colors are together. I love that. All right, our last thing we need to stamp is going to be our sentiment banner on the front. I am going to use the Happy Mother's Day, but you can use any that are available in this set. And I'm going to go ahead and line that up as best I can. Stamp it down. All right, now let's get back to our card here. Now, before we put this down on here, we need to take our piece of tulle. This is polka dot tulle ribbon, love, okay? And I'm going to take the card front piece that we made, the panel that's pear pizzazz, and I'm going to tie this piece around. And then I'm going to make a bow. Okay. Go. All right, shushle it around a bit till you get where you like it. This stuff is very forgiving and it always looks nice and full. Now, if you notice, I have it a little too far over. All you have to do is kind of just slide it over. And it looks like the one that I made, I kind of had the bow going a little more up and down. So I'm going to try to twist it a little bit and squeeze and floof until we get it to where we like it. That guy goes up there. I like that. I like how that turned out like that. All right, so now I'm going to take my Tombow and I'm going to go ahead and adhere this panel right down to the card front. Okay, so no dimensionals on this one are needed because that ribbon is very, very thin and really won't be a bother for the gluing. All right. Now, this piece we are going to put dimensionals on, okay? And it's going to straddle that piece of ribbon. So we're going to put 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. All right, let's get those backings off. There we go. And we're going to put that right there. Slide it under a little bit under your bow if you'd like. And then line it up on there. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. Love it. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my Happy Mother's Day, and that's going to kind of lay across the label already. So it's really not going to need any more dimensionals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off. And then I'm going to go ahead. Remember, I showed you before how to make your little flag. You're going to cut up the center. And then you're going to cut from each corner to that center point. Okay, then I'm just going to use a little bit of Tombow. And I'm just going to glue it right down onto the label without any dimensionals, anything. And I think that looks great that way. Okay, there it is. Now I want to share with you what I did on the inside as well. I have a panel here for the inside. And what I did, first thing I did was I'm going to go back to my tulip and to my Mango Melody. And I'm going to stamp a little tulip there at the bottom right-hand corner. And then there's one more sentiment that I really, really loved, because mothers are very, very important to us. And this was a great sentiment. And what it says is, what a beautiful difference one single life makes. And I can really say that about my mom. She was the best. Oh, that didn't come out so well. How about we turn it over like any good stamper will, and we'll try again. Thank goodness for two sides to the paper, right, girls? All right, so that means we're going to have to bring back in my Mango Melody. And I'm going to go ahead and put him in the corner. There, that's better. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this piece inside my card using my Tombow. Cover up this boo-boo here, and no one will be the wiser. Don't tell anybody, you guys, okay? All right, there we go. There's our inside and our outside. Let's bring in our two projects there. Boy, how'd we do today? Loving. If you have any questions about any of the tutorial today, don't forget you can always go to my blog at www.thewexfordstamper.blogspot.com, or you can contact me with any questions. All these dimensions will be on my blog. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you need any of these products, you can always go to my online store, and there is a link on my blog for that. So thanks again for joining, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.